it ideal for a pre-seed venture studio fund?
Um, yes. All, as I mentioned, venture studios. We have funds through Series B. So from idea stage all the way through Series B, venture studios, and we have a venture studio track that's similar to what we're announcing with the AI track next week. And it's yeah, I think we have 10 to 15% of our alumni are venture studios.
Mike wants to invest in US and Asia and is wondering, is that going to make the tax situation difficult for LPs?
Yeah, so Mike, it's maybe. So look, it does happen. I don't want to make it seem like it doesn't happen. I know a great investor, one of the top investors, has a Korea U.S. fund, and there are a lot of Koreans that are like, I want to invest, and the manager kind of pushed it, but a bunch of LPs also wanted it. Korean Americans, people in Korea, so he was able to raise it. The issue is that for the most part, LPs want you to focus on a singular geography. Because if you have Asia and the US, and let's say you focus on Japan, so let's say Japan and the US, right? To your point, an LP is going to have to file stuff in the US, file stuff in Japan. There might be exit rules they have to be aware of in the US, exit rules they have to be aware of in Japan, taxes, da da da. It just gets complicated very fast. Plus, your fund will be domiciled most likely in the US. So then there's stuff when you're moving money from Japan to the US, what's the tax treaty, etc. And a lot of LPs just don't want to deal with it. And so when they kind of what will happen is you they won't say no to you, right? But they won't say yes. And you're like, why aren't they investing in my fund? They seem really interested. Why aren't they making a commitment? And the reason is because they won't say this to you, but they just will be worried about the tax and compliance issues. And so they'll string you along, not invest, and you'll never really know why. Your goal as a manager is to oversubscribe, okay? In fund one, in fund two, preferably in fund three, right? And then as you get more established, you're gonna shoot for a number and get to the number. But in the beginning, like you want to beat the number, right? And you can easily beat the number by 2x, right? So venture models tend to scale up well, but they don't scale down well. So if you say, okay, I have a $10 million fund, I'm going to do, 8 deals at $1 million, give or take, right? So, and you go, well, now I have a $20 million fund, so I'll do like 14 deals at $1.2 million or $1.5 million, whatever the math works out to, right? So you just do a little bit more deals and a little bit more money per deal, and okay, you get a little bit more diversification, a slightly larger position. That's okay. They don't scale down very well because 8 deals might give you just enough diversity to hit your target TVPI goals. But once you go to 6 or 5 deals, it doesn't really work. And if you drop your ownership position or percentage, that doesn't really work as well. So you want to oversubscribe, and you can oversubscribe by 2x. And frankly, if you're out there and you're like, look, we're oversubscribed, we're going to close in 2 weeks. If you're in, let me know. That's the best possible messaging that you can give limited partners, period.
Nurdik is asking, how do you see LPs diversifying these days?
LPs are diversifying into emerging management. As I mentioned, we had 300 million in limited partner interest through our LP training program just in emerging managers. And they're some of the biggest LPs in the world, and they're in the program because they want to learn how to invest in emerging managers. So I would say right now, VC is mixed, right? Late stage is kind of in the doghouse. The sort of normal fund sizes, normal managers are doing okay to good, and emerging managers is on fire. All right.
Do you want to take a question from a founder's perspective?
Sure.
So Stu Arbery is asking, when making your first few hires and you're looking for like a manager or chief of staff role, which of the two profiles would you rather go with? An MBA fresh out of grad school or an executive established in another arena that is making a career pivot?
I mean, so guys, all right. You're going to hire the best person you can find, and you're not going to find great people as a newcomer. Okay. So so look, you've got to make yourself the place where everyone wants to work, right? And that takes time. So your first hires, you're going to have to scramble and beg and plead to get candidates, right? It's not like you're going to have tons of people lining up at your door. And you're going to look at your candidate pool and be like, who's the best that I can hire and afford? Because there might be people that are great, but you can't afford them. So when you apply the filter of, I've got this much budget, this pool, whoever's at the top is what you're going to get. So your job is to make yourself the hottest company where everyone wants to work. And then your candidate pool is amazing. And then you can start asking theoretical questions like this. You ready with the next one?
Yeah.
I'll vote some questions because we got 13 minutes left and more questions than time.
More technical one. From your practice, how do GP contributions usually get unfolded? Is it deal by deal or by GP's choice, and can it be deferred to year three?
Yeah, so there's something called a GP commit where manager has to invest in the fund. It's usually specified in the limited partner agreement or the LP, as we discussed before. The GP commit is on the same capital call structure as all the LPs. So you have a $10 million fund, maybe you do a 20% capital call. So you're going to put in 20% of 1% on day one. Now, so that will be $20,000. Now, that may sound like a lot, but let's say you have two GPs. Well, and you're 50-50, then it's 10,000 each. So and this, by the way, is another reason to keep your fund size a little bit lower in the beginning, because the larger your fund size, the larger your GP commit needs to be. The smaller the fund size, the more manageable that will be.
So you mentioned there's like 100x deals out there right now, and David is asking, what are some of the top marketing strategies to increase your deal flow?
You know, it's got to be. I mean, we could spend an hour. Right? So I'm just
We have
like
10 minutes.
What I would do right now for most managers is essentially like there's the good news is when you come out of a dip and there's a rebound happening because of a technical advance, which is exactly what we're seeing at this moment. Dip, rebound, major technology enhancement. There's not as much noise. So when you go out, when you're going to things, you're not going to get 100 entrepreneurs with every stupid idea under the sun. You're going to get much less entrepreneurs with much better ideas. So that's number one. So getting out and about to events, to conferences and the like, it's just a lower volume, higher quality on average. But if you want to get to deals fast, you probably want to have a partnership with local accelerators and a partnership with local universities, because a lot of the innovations that are coming in AI are kind of really technical, let's say. So they're going to be coming out of universities, and then accelerators in the region will have good deals on average, and if you can get access to some of their better deals, that's another. So I would be forging some relationships.
So yeah, Hi, Adeo. I'm working on the pre-curriculum, on the sprint challenge. The back challenge in particular takes time. Could we get an extension of the deadline?
This is a closing program. We're going to help you launch a fund before the summer so that you can start investing while it's one of the best times in history, right? So like we're like we think it's so insane right now. We're redoing everything we do to go faster, to help people more, because it's literally that good of a time. And so if you can't get the commitments, though, you're not going to be able to keep pace with the program. So you've got to find a way to make it happen, right? Or you're going to miss the window. So you don't want to have an extension, right? You want to find a way to accelerate right now, right? If it's taking you too long to get commitments, it's going to take you too long to get commitments in the program, after the program, before the program, right? You've got to be in a spot where you're getting commitments quickly. And this is true for everyone here, right? Don't miss the single biggest boom maybe ever in technology, right? If you want to miss it, going slowly is a sure way to do it. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna take this question from Haas, or no, Giacomo, sorry. Um, he has direct contact with NLPs from family offices, but is saying they haven't ever invested in VC. How do you get family offices to invest in venture capital, basically?
Yeah, invite them to come to the LP Institute. Hey, Niels, can you ping Xander to update the application link to the new semester?
Yeah, will do.
So look, we have the LP Institute to train family offices and others on how to invest in. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to do it. We're encouraging the managers, the family offices, etc., that come in to invest in the companies that refer them. So if you are setting up a fund and you refer a manager in, we're going to encourage those family offices, etc., to invest in you. Why should I not incorporate 3-entity firm structure on Carta for 10K and 25K professional services fund management for the next 10 years? Yeah, Carta's not, look, if you choose to work with Carta, we will not work with you. There, we find them to be unethical. They make lots of mistakes, and we're often cleaning up after them. Most recently because they were late for years and made mistakes, etc. This year, they're like, I promise we're going to get it in by mid-February at the latest. They wrote a bunch of managers and were like, well, we're not going to get it in on time. So it's just like maybe you get what you pay for, but in addition to that, they market to your limited partners. That's been widely reported on the internet from people who have funds there. So they'll reach out to your limited partners and with different products and services. So, as a new manager, you can do whatever you want. I would not recommend working with Carta. With that said, more importantly, nobody here should talk with anyone about setting anything up until they have 10% or $1 million, whichever is greater, in hard circled commitments. If you have nothing, if you have 5%, if you have $750,000 and you're talking to Carta or you're talking to anyone, you have made a vital mistake, and honestly, it's a sign that you're probably in trouble, right? It's completely putting the cart before the horse. It's you need market validation that your thesis is somewhat acceptable before you ever talk about setting any of this up. Period. Emil's asking, do you have data on the 300 million in LP interest? Yes, I do have data on it. So it's broken down into 4 categories. You've got what we call supporters, and maybe you could put the link
Yeah,
in the chat
got
to
it.
supporters, which are like under $100,000 investors, but they want to help. The next batch are, I would say, few hundred thousand, like 500,000 to a million. And they're, high net worth individuals, exited entrepreneurs, um, angels that want to get more diversification. And so that's definitely a big audience. The next one are family offices, corporates, smaller fund of funds, and they're looking to allocate, single digit millions over the next 12 to 18 months into venture capital, mainly as a form of diversification. And the final group are tens of millions. These are development banks, things like the IFC, Bank of America, stuff like big organizations. And they have people that are, actively investing in emerging managers. And they, but investing in emerging managers is not a common skill. So they're like, how do I up my game? I'm already doing it, right? I've already invested a lot, but I want to be better. And so we have a pretty amazing group of people. Let me leave you with a final thought, everybody, and then we'll wrap. So we got cohort 14 of VC Lab coming up in a couple weeks is the final deadline, and it's great. If you're thinking to start a venture capital firm, there is literally no better time in the world than right now. I mean, maybe the beginning of the dot-com boom, but having been there and here now, I can tell you that now is better, right? It's more developed. It's got much more potential to actually change every facet of the world through and through. It's going to have profound effects on the future of humanity. So, you really have a moment in time where you as an investor not only can make an enormous amount of money, but change the entire outcome of humanity. Okay? So if you're interested in participating, we're happy to have you. We're happy to help. We're going to do everything in our power to get you formed and operating before the summer of 2024 so that you can take advantage of the changes that are happening right now that will affect all of us for generations. Thank you. Bye, everyone.